You're listening to The Bird Bath. Welcome back to The Bird Bath. Each week we scrape the surface of the news you need to know, so let's get into it. Our top story this week is one that I think a lot of you read about or looked into or trying to figure out more about, and that is the immediate and abrupt closure of the Vets. Now, the Vets, which always was a difficult name for the SEO side of things, is a mobile veterinary service provider, and they have fully and completely shut down their operations as of last week. They've canceled all their appointments. Their websites, when you go to make an appointment, is telling you that they aren't accepting new appointments, and their phone number just rings, puts you to a voicemail, and does not seem to do any call back. Now, this was surprising and interesting, not just because it's a group that's closing that did have a pretty large and sizable footprint across the industry, but also because they had recently made an acquisition of one of their competitors in the space. So they acquired Amerivet in October of last year, and a lot of capital was pushed into these two companies here. I know Vin reached out to quite a few of the different people on the teams here. The CEO, Esteban Mu, which I was connected with on LinkedIn, but he has gone private across all of his platforms, has shut down all of those things. No one has responded to anybody's outreach, and it seems as if they're really just sort of closing the doors and seeing some quiet there. Now, the thing that was, again, very interesting about this was just the amount of money that was put into this. So Amerivet as well as the Vets both operated as standalone businesses until the Vets acquired Amerivet in October. But between the two companies, there was over $100 million of fundraising done. And this is for mobile practices. So the thing that's particularly interesting about this is one of the goals of mobile practices is supposed to be a lower startup cost to allow people to expand and fluctuate in the scale needed there. So really, really big dollar spend for a group of mobile practices. They reported to be working in over 30 cities. And when you go on their website, it's a pretty broad scope. They were expanding all the way up until their last post on their website was April of this year about a new expansion. So it's definitely something that has been consistently growing and happening, but they shut things down pretty quickly. And it's kind of this story that we're hearing a lot of. Groups are doing rapid expansion, they're doing acquisitions, they're growing, and then the next day the employees show up to the lights turned off. Now this one, they got a text message and an email letting them know, but we saw this with My Pets Wellness earlier this year as well, who closed down 10 of their practices instantly in April. A lot of other groups have been closing practices. We saw Pet IQ, which sold off or shuttered their veterinary services business before selling off to a private equity company and taking that business private again. But a lot of things going on there. It's definitely a tough one. You know, I know that there's a lot of challenges that are facing people in the industry, but I think that we can do better as an industry on when we do face these challenges, making sure that the teams are well aware of and taken care of and know what's going on. Now, flipping this from something going out of business to someone acquiring a new business. Rover has acquired Paws. Paws is an Australian company. You could think of them as the Australian version of Rover. They're an online platform that connects pet parents with trusted local pet caregivers. They do dog walking, pet sitting, boarding, grooming, and they even offer dog training on the platform there. And Paws has over 300,000 active pet parents, 70,000 registered pet sitters, and they say that they've done over 400,000 transactions in last year in 2024. They work with all types of companion animals and even horses. The thing that was really cool about this is that Rover is planning and has put together the formal offer and the bid to be able to take over Paws for a deal around 62 million Australian dollars or 41 million US dollars. So really, really large deal. And part of that, Paws actually has two other verticals outside of that, or two other departments or divisions. They have their pet chemist business, which is their online pharmacy business, which is being spun off and not part of the sale, as well as some of their e-commerce brand Sash and Waggle. They're shutting those down or spinning those off as well. So interesting there. And the reason why I found this particularly interesting is if we compare it to a story that we talked about last week with Wag. Wag, many of you know, was a very similar competitor to Rover. Dog sitting, boarding, sort of that peer-to-peer gig economy growth sector. Now, Rover, in the same time, has grown to be in 17 different global markets, while Wag has just filed for bankruptcy. The thing that stuck out to me as we talk about this is if you look at the portfolio of these two companies. Now, Rover is making an acquisition, and they've made quite a few acquisitions, which Wag did as well. But all of Rover's acquisitions have been extremely targeted in companies that are basically their exact same portfolio or their exact same footprint, just in other countries. So Paws in Australia is basically Rover in the US. It's a very, very similar thing. And as part of this deal, Paws is taking out the things that don't fit into Rover's traditional portfolio. Meanwhile, Wag, when we look at that, they brought in e-scripting platforms. They brought in software companies. They brought in hardware businesses. They brought in insurance. They brought in wellness plans. They brought in a lot of different things that were outside of this, hands-on peer-to-peer gig economy business. That's what built them. So best of luck for Rover and for everyone down in Australia. You'll still be using Paws. You'll just have a new parent company running over it after the deal is all approved. And best of luck for everyone down there. If you feel like we haven't talked about access to care in a while, well, here's your chance. Hills is launching their 24/7 vet professional chat. In Hills' State of the Shelter Pet Adoption Report from last year, 84% of owners said that veterinary care is the most expensive part of pet ownership, and it's actually what leads to the decision of them not keeping their pet, relinquishing their pet, or choosing to not have a pet at all. So Hills has decided to step up and try and help fill that gap. Their new 24/7 vet professional chat service, which is on shop.hillspet.com, allows more than just a chatbot. It allows instant personalized nutrition guidance from licensed veterinary professionals, available, like the name says, 24/7. It's designed to give that lifeline for pet parents that are trying to understand the things that a lot of people see, right? Digestive issues, weight management, right feeding routines, and getting people in a place where they can feel comfortable with those new pets, or maybe answer some of those questions that are hurdles from them that they maybe can't access the care. So Hills has stepped up. They're doing this for free, completely free to users for a limited time. I went on there and played with it a little bit, asked some questions. Thank you to the vet that I chatted with. And they really are looking at ways to make this something that's going to be super impactful for the industry. Additionally, not just covering access to care, but they're also committed to the animal welfare. As we all know, Hills does a spectacular job really doing everything that they can to try and tackle pet adoption issues and getting, clearing the shelters and all of that. So during this time when they're doing this free offer here, Hills is donating $1 to participating shelters for every single purchase that's done through the site. So really a cool way to get access to care, get some answers to small questions or quick questions that you might need some additional help on that maybe a full vet visit isn't ready for, and a great way to give back to the community. Finally, a bit of a roundup, maybe. I'm back home in Texas. It's been a while. I've been on the road. So let's lasso up some news around AI scribes. There are a lot of AI scribes, as many of you know, and it's one of those things that I could probably do an AI scribe news podcast, but I don't know how many of you would listen to it. But the thing is, there were some really cool things that have happened with AI scribes in the past month or so that I thought needed a highlight, needed some light shined on them, but maybe weren't a full birdbath story. But the first one is something that just was announced last week. CoVet has expanded their clinical leadership with the launch of their in-house medical department. This was pretty cool because as we're looking at more and more AI scribes that are happening, we're looking for these companies to find differentiations, things that set them apart from what other companies are doing. And CoVet has put together what they're calling the first and only full in-house medical team. They've got a staff of 6 DVMs that work fully there at CoVet, helping them guide the understanding of what needs to happen and how things are done in clinic. trying to take a step away from just putting out wrappers around AI models, which is what a lot of companies are doing, and actually adding in veterinary knowledge here. So Dr. Mike Mossop, who's the head of CoVet's medical department, as well as co-founder of the company, said veterinary medicine is complex, fast-paced, and constantly evolving. Having a dedicated team of veterinarians shaping every part of our platform ensures that what we build actually works in the hands of clinicians, not just in theory. So very cool to see CoVet bringing hands-on medical leadership and medical department directly in-house. So very cool to see that there. Another company that had a big announcement was Amerivet. Amerivet and Scribenote partnered to roll Scribenote across the 200 plus Amerivet locations. So kudos and congratulations to both those companies. Always great to see large groups bringing on a tool and rolling it across the platform. I know a lot of them are. Send me the names. I can do a roll call or a rundown of them, but I know a lot of large companies are working with different scribing partners. And finally, last month, I didn't hit on this, but again, I think it's worth noting, Scribenote launched a free version of their software. It doesn't have all the same features as the full AI tool, but they view it as a way to get the tool into people's hands for them to check out. So yes, that was a quick AI scribe rundown, but big moves for things that are happening across the industry. And for more on these and other stories, join us by subscribing to our Substack. There's a link in the bio. And don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing and rating the show. For the Bird Bath, I'm Ryan Leach. See you next week.